Welcome everyone in War Eagle. My name is Moira Kyle and I serve as an Auburn Clubs Coordinator for the Office of Alumni Affairs at Auburn University. And for the next 30 minutes or so, I will serve as your host of 18 minutes and 56 seconds, the Auburn Alumni Association Speaker Series. We are engaging our alumni and friends more than ever before, and we want to thank you for participating. You can find all of our previous shows at aub.ie/1856 series. During our shows, we would love to hear from you. So ask questions and interact by leaving comments on our Facebook page, and we will do our best to answer them in the half hour that we have together. Today, we are so excited to speak to these three alumni around the topic of extreme sports. If you're like me and asking yourself what exactly is an extreme sport, then you're in good company. It can be defined as an activity that involves a certain degree of risk. We are joined by Emily Pickle. Excuse me, Pickle. I can't even say your last name. Help me out, Emily.
Pilkerton.
Okay.
Pilkerton.
A 2015 graduate who has been hiking the Pacific Crest Trail for the last several weeks. Bennett Smith, who is a 2019 graduate and has a passion for extreme kayaking. And Tyler Ross, a 2009 graduate and has a special interest in hiking and biking as well. As you can imagine, we are going to talk about adventure, some of their most intense or memorable experiences, but most importantly, how they live out a spirit that is not afraid. It is our hope that everyone watching learns something new, enjoys the entertainment, and grows in their appreciation and value that we have for our Auburn family. A quick disclaimer before we get started that if you're interested in any of these activities we talk about today, please consult your physician and or professionals before participating. Okay, let's jump in and get started. To kick off the show, I want to give each of our participants an opportunity to speak a little bit about who they are and the extreme sport that they represent and participate in. So Emily, I will let you go first.
Hey, I'm Emily, and I'm currently hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that runs from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada through the states of California, Oregon, and Washington, and spans 2,653 miles. The other day, I just went through the halfway point, which was very exciting. And right now, I'm about 1,370 miles in, and I'm set to finish mid-September, so almost there.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you join us today. All right, Bennett, I will let you go next.
Hey everyone, my name is Bennett. I am from Alabama, from Birmingham, Alabama, and grew up an Auburn fan. A lot of people in my family went to Auburn, and naturally I always had my eyes set there to go to school. But between when I was born and between then and college, I got into whitewater kayaking through my best friend in middle school and started doing some competitions around the Southeast. And to my surprise, I made it onto the U.S. team back in 2013 and have been professionally competing ever since then. And luckily, Auburn's close to some awesome places to paddle. So got my college degree there while still being able to kayak. And now I live with my wife in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and work in kayak up here now.
Great. Thank you. And we're excited to have you. And Tyler, I will let you share next.
Yeah, so my name is Tyler Ross, born and raised in Florence, Alabama. I've only lived one other place, and that was Auburn for 4 years to get a economics degree there, and came back and kind of started my career here in restaurants and bars and owning and operating those. And since then, I've kind of weaved some forward ventures into it, and that's what we'll be talking about today. I did the Appalachian Trail in 2010. 2,000-mile trail from Georgia to Maine. I did a bicycle ride in 2011, 4,000-mile trip from Seattle to Key West. I did the PCT, Pacific Crest Trail, in 2017 from the Mexican border to the Canadian border through California, Oregon, and Washington. And then finally, I did the Continental Divide Trail in 2019, a 3,000-mile trail from Mexico to Canada through Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Incredible. Well, thank you all for sharing a little bit about yourselves and all of the amazing endeavors that you participate in. If our audience is thrill seeking, they're in good company, and I've loved getting to chat with these folks. So I'm going to start with a few questions for Emily, because you are on a trail and you're participating, and you have been for several months. So I want you to tell the audience a little bit about your story and why you were interested in completing the trail.
Yeah, so I grew up hiking. My grandparents lived in North Carolina, close to the Smokies. So my grandpa took me out hiking when I was a kid, and I learned about the Appalachian Trail. And through hiking has always been on my mind ever since I was a kid. And then when I was older, I found out about the Pacific Crest Trail, and I was like, this one's so much cooler. It's like out west, and it has such diverse landscapes. I want to do that one. So it's just something that I'd always had in the back of my head that I wanted to do. And then this past year, I worked as a physical therapist in a hospital in Birmingham on the COVID unit. And it was really challenging and hard and mentally draining. And I dealt with a lot of death. And I just saw how frail and how short life was. And I was just like, I want to hike this trail. Like, why not hike this trail while I still can, while I'm young and healthy, and have this opportunity? So I quit my job and am hiking in memory of all of those patients who passed away last year. And it's been an amazing, beautiful journey.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I love that that's your perspective, and that was your motivation to start this process and to continue on. And I just think you said it beautifully. So thank you for sharing that with us. And then also, you are pretty active on social media when you have service, and you do have a blog. And so people can find you on social media and learn a little bit more about your journey. But Colin actually pulled some photos that I think he's going to share with the audience. And so I want you to talk a little bit about the people and the community that you have established amongst the trail, and who do you spend your time hiking with?
Yeah, that's definitely been like the best part of this trail. It's the people. It's kind of crazy. None of us knew each other before the trail. We're all from all over the world, actually. Like, we have a couple people from the Netherlands, Germany. So it's really, really cool to see all these friendships just come together, and we are bonded so quickly because we naturally have something in common, that we're all crazy enough to do something like this. And we just spend so much time together, and we go through such extreme challenges together that we really help each other out when we're in need. And if we're having a bad day, we really lean on each other to continue on. And it's just crazy how quickly I've gotten to know these people, and I like call them my best friends, or we call each other our tramily, which is like trail family. And I expect that we'll be friends for forever, you know.
Awesome. That's so wonderful. I love that you literally met them on the trail, and now you have that relationship with them. Okay, one more question, and then I'm going to turn them over to the gentleman. But someone asked us, what have you missed most while being on the trail?
Probably my bed. Camping's fun, but sleeping on an air pad every night, you know, it's not as comfortable as my bed at home. Or endless access to clean water at all times. I hate filtering water. It's one of my least favorite chores out here. And yeah, we really take it for granted having clean water at all times.
Good and practical answers.
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to jump to Bennett, and I want you to tell everyone about a video that was posted and went viral on Fox News. So I think Colin has it ready to show the audience. So talk a little bit about that video that was shared.
Okay, so long story short, it looks like the video is playing right now. So in kayaking, there's a lot of different disciplines, we call them. There's freestyle kayaking, which is doing tricks in a rapid. And then there's also downriver kayaking, which is like going down big rapids or going off big waterfalls. And I have a passion for both of those things. I love both of them. And I mixed the two together and started doing tricks off of waterfalls and while going down big rapids. And that seemed to kind of catch on in the kayaking community. And I was doing some tricks that people thought were interesting and cool. And from there, the videos just kind of got some popularity, and a couple media agencies reached out to me, and they kind of helped market the videos. And next thing I know, my phone was blowing up, and people said that it was shared on Fox News, and I hadn't even known about it. But hopefully I can get some more tricks out there and have some more exposure like that. But it was a really cool experience, and hopefully it got some attention out there for whitewater kayaking.
Awesome. That's so cool. We did get a comment in from Facebook. Tracy says, "Go Bennett." So we have a Bennett fan watching.
That's actually my mom. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Talk a little bit for a second, Bennett, on how you physically prepare and mentally prepare to go extreme kayaking.
Okay, so I used to just think the way to get better at kayaking or at anything was just to go hard and kayak as much as possible and tire myself out as much as possible. I realized I wasn't physically getting that much better from that. So I've tried to be more strategic and like purposeful in my approach. And so I focus a lot more on technique now and doing some rehabilitation exercises, because kayaking puts a lot of strain on your shoulders and back. So physically, I do a lot of rehab for my shoulders and back to keep them healthy, and then work on technique a lot physically. And mentally, it's easy to get a lot of thoughts going through your head. We talked about it a little bit before the show, but before you're about to go off of a big waterfall or down a big rapid, it's good to mentally picture yourself going down it and think about what could go wrong, plan A, B, and C. But when it's time to actually do the rapid, you need to be 100% there in the present moment. So I'm always trying to work on that before I do a trick or run a big rapid.
Awesome. Someone asked from the audience, what was the name of that river that you did your roll or trick down?
So on those pictures, it looks like there's a few different rivers. I believe they were all in Tennessee. That first one of me in the orange kayak is right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I am now. It's called the North Chickamauga Creek. And that was the video you just saw was North Chickamauga Creek. And there was a couple other ones up here in Tennessee too.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Tyler, I'm going to ask you a couple questions as we go around the horn. So talk to us a little bit, when you've gone on your trips or excursions, what do you pack with you? What are your essentials that you have to bring?
It's pretty much the basics, what you would take backpacking at any time. You've got your tent, sleeping bag, all that stuff. I think where it gets different for doing these long trips is everything should be a lot lighter and a lot less. So, you might bring 5 pairs of underwear for a 5-day trip. Out here, 1 or 2 max kind of thing. So a lot less, a lot lighter. Everything's a lot lighter, instead of a foam mattress, it's this tiny little inflatable thing that's the size of your fist kind of thing. I cut my toothbrush in half to save weight, things like that. I think the most interesting thing, though, is the luxury item. So everyone out there kind of picks their luxury item. And mine has always been a speaker. I'm a big music person. I was a musician for a long time. And it's actually how I got my trail name. I was on the AT first night, and I woke everyone up the next morning playing some Parliament Funkadelic or P-Funk. And so one of the guys there was like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Tyler." And he said, "You're T-Funk." And I said, "Okay, I'll take it. That'll work." So yeah, the most interesting things are your luxury items. Mine's always been the speaker and headphones. You know, I always try to keep music in my ears the whole time to keep me going. So
Awesome. Thank you. I would have never thought about a luxury item. That's a great way to frame it. Okay, so you've hiked or biked, I think you said 5 trails or five trips. What has been one of the most memorable or intense experiences that you've had when you hiked or biked throughout a trail?
So most memorable, there's a lot of those. You know, we had on the AT, there was a lot of technical terrain, a lot of rocks. The Sierras, we had a crazy snow year, worst snow in 28 years. So we found ourselves doing some ice climbing on Forester Pass, which was definitely the most terrifying thing I've ever done on any of my trips. Just being completely unprepared for that, but you either do it or you turn around, and those are those pictures there. Highest point in the PCT, and other than that, you know, it's been all over the place. I got woken up on the roads on a highway roadside by an Elvis impersonator to take me to the hospital for Lyme disease. Lots of grizzly bear encounters, and then probably finally a gun-toting crazy Kansas man named Roger that wanted to kill us because, you know, we had apparently stolen his picture of him and his horses. So, which did not happen. I still stand by that. So, yeah, lots of crazy times for sure.
Oh my goodness. I am from Kansas, and I don't even want to claim that right now. I cannot believe that happened to you.
Well, this was in Dodge City, population 200. And he said he lived between God and the government, the post office and the church, the only church in town. So it was a very small town, crazy Kansas. Goodness
gracious, that is hilarious. We have a question from one of our viewers, Nicole, and she asked this beautiful question. And so, Bennett, I'm going to present this to you. How did you balance college classes and training or experiencing the outdoors? My daughter is looking at schools that provide an opportunity to continue her love of sailing and backpacking and camping. So, Bennett, do you want to answer that for us?
For sure. And I'm trying, what was the second part of the question?
She just said, how did you balance college classes as well as training and experiencing the outdoors? That was her question.
Gotcha. So for me, I was pretty lucky. The biggest thing that played into it for me was the location of Auburn. It was really close to some world-class rivers to kayak. So it was easy for me to get outside before or after classes. So I would say if possible, being somewhere close to whatever activity you're wanting to do probably is the single biggest factor in being able to get out there. But a lot of times besides that, I would just have to work around by getting it in by waking up early or going late in the afternoon so it wouldn't get in the way of my study. So I had to swap up my normal routine of going in the middle of the day and be flexible to maybe wake up a little bit earlier to go so I could still make it to class or be willing to go in the evening even.
Great answer. Thank you. Okay, I want everyone to answer this question that was posed. What is the one fear that you have associated with your sport? So, Tyler, I will let you answer that one first.
That's definitely easy for me. It's lightning. I've had a couple run-ins and got kind of, I don't call it struck, but I definitely went unconscious for a minute in New Mexico one time on top of a mountain. So who knows what happened, but I definitely saw a bright light and a big flash, and that was terrifying. Since then, you get stuck in a lightning storm. There's really nowhere to go. You just get in the lightning position which is this super awkward thing in a little cannonball on your tippy toes on the ground. And I mean, most people keep walking. You're not going to get struck realistically, but yeah, I'm always that one that just kicks back and gets in the lightning position under a tree or running down boulders to get below tree line and all that. So yeah, definitely lightning for me. Grizzly bears are pretty terrifying, but lightning's more scary to me.
Wow. Emily, what is the one fear that you have? I think you're still on mute.
Sorry. Mine's just injury. Like, I'm terrified of getting injured and hurt because I don't want to leave the trail. And if anything were to kick me off the trail, it would be a serious injury. But even just like little things like blisters or like a sore knee or something can be pretty debilitating out here since we just rely so much on our feet and legs. But that is probably my worst fear. But lightning and bears are also concerns. Tyler, I was recently on Sonora Pass and I got off just in time before a lightning storm came. But there were people up there right behind me that got stuck in this lightning storm, and you're up on a ridge where there's no trees and you're just on a ridge for miles, and there was nowhere they could go. So it was terrifying. Somebody showed me a video and it was a 10-second video and we could see 10 lightning strikes. So it was literally a lightning strike every second. It was insane. I'm so thankful that no one got hurt and that I was up there.
Wow. Okay, Bennett, last but not least, what is your fear?
Man, well, I was going to say, I'm going to have to talk to you guys off the script to hear the longer version of some of these stories.
Yeah.
Because they're wild. Those would probably be I'm more scared of the things you said than probably what I'm about to say from kayaking. But with kayaking, there's several things that could happen. The most common is, drowning, or people injure their backs too, going off big waterfalls. So that's always in my mind. And I always try to have a healthy fear and always calculate the risk and make sure I'm up for the challenge if I'm going to go down a big water or a big waterfall or big rapid. But the fear is always in my head. So I think that's good though for some things.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit for the last question, and I'm going to have us go around the horn again. How would you encourage someone who's interested in participating in an activity that they've never done before? Maybe it's not extreme, maybe it is, but what's your encouragement to those folks that are watching that say, hey, I want to do something outside of my comfort zone and participate in something a little bit different? So, Emily, I will kick it to you to answer first for this question.
I mean, I say if you are having any thought of doing a through hike or anything extreme like this, that seed is already planted in your mind. So I encourage you just to do it. Like, life's short. I know that there's plenty of excuses of not doing things, like you have a job or you can't, like, you don't want to leave a family member or you have responsibilities back home. But if this is something that you really want to do, I know it's simple, but just do it. Like, I like that the seed's already planted in your mind. If you're already thinking about doing something like this, and just do it. Don't let these excuses be the reason to not do something. Like I said earlier, life's short. We've really seen that in the year of 2020. And if you're like healthy and have the ability to do something, I really encourage you to do it.
Tyler, what would your encouragement be?
Yeah, so along the same lines, I mean, I think if you want to learn how to bake, you want to learn how to roller skate, you want to walk across the country, it's all the same thing. I think so many people put things off. One encouraging thing I always found out on my trips is that everyone out there is either 23 or 63, which is promising. I'm not encouraging to wait till retirement, but it is, it's a wide range of people. You can get out there at any time. When you have that time, realize it and strike it. If it's something smaller, like I said, learn how to fish, whatever, like, get out after work, do it. I think it's important to follow dreams and pursue anything that could be a passion, because that's definitely, a path to a happier life. And just, yeah, as soon as it strikes you, do it. If it's bigger like this, try and work out the right time and actually make it happen.
Great. Bennett?
Those are all super good tips, and I would say the same thing. And something else, maybe just specific to kayaking, but I think it applies to other things too, is a lot of times it seems like there's a big barrier to entry, or it's tough to get into a sport like hiking or whitewater kayaking, hiking long distances. And it seems to be a daunting thing to get into a sport like that. But a lot of times, if you do a little searching around on the internet, there's good community groups that can get you out there and help you get started and on your feet. And I would just say, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, even if you want to get into it just yourself, and reach out to those people or take a class. If you do have that seed planted and feel motivated to do it. And then always just make sure you're having fun doing it. And with kayaking, or if you're competing especially, sometimes it'll feel like it's a chore. Maybe if you're doing it for leisure, that's not as big of an issue. But I just make sure whatever you're doing, you are enjoying it and you're doing it for the right reasons to have fun. So
Awesome. Well, you three are incredible, and this was such an amazing conversation. So thank you for being here. I did want to mention the Auburn Magazine's last issue was on extreme sports as our cover story, and then it was featured along with a couple other alumni. So if you're interested in the topic, we would invite you to check that out. We just wanted to say in our closing remarks that the Auburn Alumni Association is proud of each of you, so thank you for joining. I had so much fun speaking with you, Emily, Bennett, and Tyler, and I know that our audience laughed, smiled, and learned along the way. Before we wrap up, I want to invite our audience to join us for our next show on Thursday, August 19th.
I don't want to head in.
We will feature the Auburn University Regional Airport. Well, the last thing I did want to say is that every talk show or broadcast deserves a strong closing. And so with that, thank you for tuning in, War Eagle, and we will see you next time.